right there. Poetry is experience. It is a moment of your life that is captured in a flow of words as a form of expression. There it is, definition on the board. It is music, it is rap, it is language, it is past, it is present, it is future, it is us, it is me, it is you. And what I love about it so much is that with this experience, it's all very different. When I step into the classroom the first time, I say to the students, I don't want to meet you twice. I don't want to meet you 3 times. When I meet you, I want to know that I've never met you before. No copycats. I want originals. Because regardless of how many of us have the same story, there are clear lines of demarcation that make our stories just a little different. Because it's yours, and you embody it, and you carry it, and it manifests in your life in a way that very same event does not manifest in someone else's life. Poetry allows us to capture that. Before I entered into the program where I met Miss Naya, I was a playwright, I am a playwright. But they didn't have a program for playwriters at the school. So I ended up taking poetry. First class, I was in. It takes me years to write a play, to get that script down, and then to write that script, and then to get that script performed, so I can hear my words coming out of people's mouths. Then I gotta go back, tweak it. I'm paying attention to the audience, and they're laughing off cue. What I thought was funny, they thought was serious. What I thought was serious, they think is funny. Takes years to complete. But I sat in that classroom, and when I found out with poetry that I can tell that story, in 2 stanzas, a love affair began that will carry me for the rest of my life. So let me start with this story, Night Mother. I didn't even bring my own writing book. I do have books about the end. You're interested in purchasing them, you can. This is in the program that she and I met in. We had to come up with a final project, which would be equivalent to a dissertation, if you will, but our master's thesis. And what's so unique about the program at the University of Baltimore, we didn't just come out with a manuscript as a paper, we actually had to produce a book. This is mine. So with all of that being said, I'm going to start off with this poem called Queen Mother. Think about those words. Think about the definition. Queen Mother. My mother's madness set in all of us. But I hope she'd never stand up and walk around or even talking. Teddy, my younger brother, was the first to know Queen Mother's insanity. He ran around Sugar Hill naked. Julia, she cussed aloud during the reverend sermons, and the ushers escorted her out of the sanctuary most summers. Michael stood at an open bus door, one foot wedged between the door and the other on the ground, and he refused to let anyone on. One by one, Queen Mother stood up in my center. I prayed she continued to sit quietly. I knew she was there. She tapped her feet. But sometimes she stomped hard. I got married and had 2 children, and I watched them grow up. I thought I was safe. Thought that the daily dose of sanity pills had finally put Queen Mother asleep, rocking in my soul. One day, instead of tapping or even stomping, which I handled before, Queen Mother stood up straight and me like a vertical rod, burning the strength of my spine. She took 1 step, then 2 more. She was headed toward my life. I was frightened by her movement and afraid for me and my family. I brought a gun, and when I was alone, I shot her right in the head. That's poetry. True story. Happened to my neighbors. A family of insanity. And it was passed on to the children from the mother. And the oldest daughter had managed it for years. Managed. Taking the pills the doctors prescribed. But when the pills were no longer working, and she thought about what was happening to all her siblings, her mother had been institutionalized much earlier in her life. What did she do? She killed herself. It's poetry. So we didn't have to read pages of that story. You didn't have to go see a play about that. But just in that short piece, that little bit of stanza, you were able to get a feel. And you were able to have an experience. That's what poetry is. Here's another. For $60, I got my check. I had won that lawsuit against Pick and Pay Grocery Store. I slipped on some spilled Similac. I was planning on buying me a new sofa. He said, "Mama, give me some money." I knew my son was on that stuff, and I gave him $60. That damn fool came back asking for another $60, and I said, no. Then Latrell hit me across the head with the hammer that I was using to hang my new pictures of Jesus, John F. Kennedy.